Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
Turtles.
Welcome again to the program. I am Tom Connors. It's time for some Midnight's Edge After Dark. We've got all 32 flavors of Nick Weiser here. How you doing?
All flavors included. We are doing quite huge. Hello,
That's
chat.
right.
Hello, wretches of ours. I think I saw Red Shirt and Gossip Wim here, and I know our other wretches will be here as well. Hello, Klobby, CC Karaoke, and well, of course, hello to you, Tom.
Hello, and hopefully you're doing well.
I am. We're here, and we're gonna come.
Ooh, we like that. We also have, of course, as you just mentioned, Mr. Clobberin' Times. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, buddy. Good to see you. Thanks for having me here. Nicky, good to see you there, bro. And,
hey.
DC, good to be on the panel with you as always. Thank you, Tom. And big chat. What's up, my friends? Good to see you out there tonight. Hail to you all. Let us clobber.
That's right. We also have with us from Canada, Mr. CC Karaoke.
Glad to be here as always. Just keeping a chill day. Nice. It's nice out.
So the CC stands for Classy Canadian.
Yes.
Just so everybody knows. Today it does. But yes, welcome to the program. Hopefully you're having a good time. I remember you saying you're sticking around where you're at for a while. I think you liked where you're at, so you're gonna set up.
Yeah, this whole area is a lot less of a tourist trap than I thought it was. People just kind of ignore it, but hey, I'll go with it. If there's nobody here, I get the whole place to myself.
Right. Well, and before we get too deep into anything else, I just want to say hello to everybody out in the chat. I see we've got like Duck Nation, we got Jason Webster, David Glenn, Action Comms here, keeping the tabs on the stories and stuff we're going to talk about, and got one for you right away. In fact, we're going to let CC introduce our first story of the day because I forgot to let him do this on the last show. But he is a Baldur Gate fan, and I don't know shit about games because much like Andre, if it's not on the Sega Mega Drive, I probably don't know much about it. But you, on the other hand, are a gamer, and you've been talking about this Baldur's Gate thing. So why don't we start the show off with that? And why don't you take us through this whole business? I'll try and bring the story up here while you're telling us what it's all about, or why you wanted to discuss Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to highlight it because we're living in a time right now where all of our favorite myths and legends and stories are being destroyed. Star Trek, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, or the Rings of Power. We're just getting kicked in the nuts over and over and over again. And Baldur's Gate is the shining example right now of one of these classics that has been treated with respect, And I'm excited about that. And Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, like if you're a fan of Western fantasy, of role-playing games, of anything in the genre, then you probably have heard of it. Maybe you've played it, and it holds a tremendous regard among gamers.
I heard there's
some
some
of the best, couple of
bear
the,
sex in it or something like that, though.
well, a couple of the best games of all time. Now, the bear sex. The whole point with this, right, is that BioWare used to be the company, like Lucasfilm used to be the company for Star Wars, and then Larian took over the IP, kind of like Disney took over the IP for Star Wars, except that Larian didn't shit on it. They respected it. They were fans of the game. They pitched hard to get the rights to make it, and they spent the last 3 years in open beta with the game. You know, they released 20% of it, and they spent the last 3 years listening to fan feedback and figuring out how to best honor the source material and make the best game possible. And instead of rushing it out to meet a deadline, they said, we'll release it when it's ready. And I guess the whole thing with the bear sex thing, the point is you can do anything you want, right? If you want to burn down the village and kill everybody in it, go for it. You'll kill all the quest NPCs, and then you can't do the quests, but you're free to do it. If you want to fuck a bear, you can do that. There's over 10,000 variations of the ending. The game is just staggeringly large, and people are happy with it, right? I mean, it's been done correctly. That's why it's got a 97 on Metacritic, and the user score is a 9.3, and it's just universally being praised. It's hit the top 10 all time on Steam. People are supporting it, and it's not like it's the most accessible thing. It's a hardcore RPG, a turn-based RPG, but it's a franchise that's been beloved by its fans as a masterpiece, not of just video games, but of literature. And Larian respected it, and they did it correctly. And this is the result. You know, that's why I wanted to highlight it, because at least we have an example of something that's been done well and respected and not shat on for once.
Well, that's good to hear. All right. Well, anybody got anything to say about Baldur's Gate?
Not here. I'm not familiar with
Okay.
the franchise at all, but hey, I'm glad
No,
people
nothing.
are excited. I have obviously quite a few buddies, comics I know included, who've been playing Baldur's Gate, and they seem to be really enjoying it.
All right.
Excellent.
Well, we have an update on the April O'Neil situation. I have not heard back from Playmates yet, even though I've reached out to them both on X and their press contact. Still nothing yet, but we've got some more movement. We've got more video and evidence that there is several different versions of these out there, or at least the two different versions, I should say. And the latest theory going around in the figure community or the toy community is that the early run was too dark, so they flipped over to this more mocha colored version. Because for those who may not realize that in the videos and the pictures that I'm showing, a lot of everybody who's been pointing them out to me or sent them to me have been saying the same thing, and that is that they look much darker in real life in both cases than the pictures are even depicting. So what that tells us, and there was another video that was put out today by somebody who completely took credit for it without even giving me any credit for it. So whatever, you know, they're typical world-class backstabbers, let's say. But anyhow, yes, and that was a popular thing going around the fan community, even though this individual also took the credit for that theory as well. So yeah, that's what's going on, and I think that's probably the case, but that hasn't stopped people from poaching these on eBay already. So yeah, go take your pick on that. I'm like, I don't even know where the chips are going to fall here, which one's which. But funnily enough, people are thinking that the lighter toned one is the one that's going to be worth more, when I think it's going to be the other way around. Yellow Flash is one of those who thinks it's the other way, the other way. And I'm like, well, I'm not so sure, because I think it's possibly this, they changed the color later in the run, realizing that the first one was a bit too dark. But you guys tell me what you think out there about that. I just thought I'd bring that little update to the table since I haven't heard from Playmates proper. Clobby, Nick, CC, anything to say on that?
Not here.
I don't know, still don't know much about that one either, I gotta admit.
It's just tough. It's tough to assign future value to April O'Neil. A character still has to be popular to begin with for there to be a whole lot of demand. But if there's really very, very few of an item, I suppose that can fetch a price.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that would happen. That's for sure, especially when it was made so few. It was once again most likely an error that happened. It's definitely not a course correct of any means. There's
I don't
no
think
way.
well, I was gonna say I don't think it was so much an error as much as like I just said. I could be wrong, Nick, but I think what they
Okay.
did is they ran the first bunch, realized that she was way too dark. That the
Maybe. I mean, it's
because like that's what everybody's
possible.
telling me is that both characters look much darker than what they look in the pictures and videos and what we're seeing.
Hmm.
Everybody who's seen them in actual person. So what I think happened then is they flipped over to this much more caramel colored, is what people have been saying, mocha colored, whatever a version of the
Mm.
character, because she's not as white as she looks in the pictures and the videos. What
Uh-huh.
people are saying. So I think that's the case, and that was the speculation going around because they put the lipstick and still on her on the lighter version. So to me, it doesn't feel like it was any kind of mistake. I think it was a flip, and less likely that this is made for another market because the
Hmm.
movie hasn't even been released in China yet. So, and I have no idea how big Ninja Turtles even is anymore in China.
Good
Um,
question.
and that's the other thing is these are Target exclusives here in the US. They could be exclusive elsewhere. We have no idea what stores will carry them there. We'll have to wait and find out. But unless the movie comes out in China and they lighten her skin in the actual movie, then I don't see the correlation there. Even though that was the initial theory people had, but the fact that more and more and more and more of these keep popping up, that's where I think the second theory that the toy community is going with now is probably most likely. But again, till we hear from Playmates or anybody else on the matter, we're just
Uh-huh.
only able to speculate on what the problem or deal was here. And it's not the first time we've had toys with multiple different versions come out throughout down the line. You know, they vary it, changed because of whatever reason, you know, that comes out of it. So again, I could be wrong. You could be right, Nick. I don't think it's as nefarious as some people are trying to say in this case. I think
I
it's
don't.
less nefarious than the gay splinter thing anyway.
I do agree with that. I do agree that it's less nefarious. The thing is, even if you wanted to whiten her skin, with that appearance, with the pudgy, weird hair, I don't think it's gonna save it one bit.
Oh no. That's the thing is that everybody, you know, and the other YouTubers and outlets that have done this story, I want to thank them that have given me credit on this, by the way, considering what I just said before. But no, like, yeah, they have all said the same kind of thing about this thing and, you know, calling out the hypocrisy of the whole matter, and everything like that. But at the end of the day, until we hear from Playmates or somebody at Paramount, we're just left to speculate, and there's not much else we can do other than that. And yeah, I mean, as far as Jackie Chan being cast as Splinter, you would think that was one of the reasons why would be to appeal to Japan, but or China. I mean, sorry, did I just say Japan? I don't know why. But like, uh, at the same time, though, would he still be? As long as he does his translation over there too? That's the other thing. Uh, I don't know if he'll be doing that, but maybe, most likely, I don't see why not. But I don't know when the movie even comes out there, so. Some people will have to inform me on that business because I am not keeping up with that because we got other news to get into, and we've got a super chat already
Yes.
from Angela Richter who says, "For CC, then why did they promote the bear screwing?"
I mean,
See, that's the
if
only
the
thing I've heard about this game, man. So he's got a point,
Yeah.
or
that
she's
is
got a
the
point.
point, isn't it? It's the only thing you've heard about it, and so it must have on some level it worked. They've promoted a whole lot of other things too.
Mhm.
They've promoted, the size and scope of it. You can though. There's a lot. That's the point. You can do anything you want, and they put their money where their mouth is. So I mean, the bear screwing might have gone over poorly if the game was bad, but it came out, and it's been received so well that you can kind of just say, well, I can play the game and I don't have to screw the bear.
Screw the bear. Oh Lord. Thank you so much, Angela, for that. All right, we got some news to discuss here. As if you caught us on the morning show the other day, we were talking about this interview that Gal Gadot had done where she was talking about Wonder Woman 3 being in development. And I said, I don't believe that. And here we are a couple days out from that interview dropping, and we're hearing news from Variety and a few other outlets now that that might not be the case. And that's kind of what I was getting at, because from what I had heard before too, that yeah, none of the main trio were coming back. Like this was a done and over with thing. In fact, you guys remember me saying a while back, I was surprised we didn't get a more solid announcement from Gal Gadot about it being the end of her run as Wonder Woman. Like she kind of kept it open-ended in her little announcement she did. What was it? 6 months ago now, almost. Maybe a little less, but like, yeah, here we go. So I'm going to read this real quick and we'll get everybody's response to it. Is the third Wonder Woman movie on the way from Warner Brothers and DC Studios? Not quite, despite recent comments from Gal Gadot claiming DC head James Gunn and Peter Safran told her they would develop Wonder Woman 3 together. Sources with knowledge of the situation tell Variety that this is not the case. According to the sources, the third Wonder Woman film is not in development at DC, nor do Gunn and Safran have plans at this time for any Wonder Woman project in the DC universe other than their previously announced Paradise Lost prequel series for Max. Gadot first suggested that Wonder Woman 3 might not be fully dead in an interview with comicbook.com. I love portraying Wonder Woman, she said. It's so close and dear to my heart from what I heard from James and from Peter that they're going to develop a Wonder Woman 3 together. The actor made potential future for Wonder Woman 3 appear even more likely during a recent published profile in Flaunt magazine. In this interview, Gadot said she was assured by Gunn and Safran that Wonder Woman 3 would be developed. Well, of course it's going to be developed. Did they say it was with you? No. I was invited to a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, Gadot said. And that what they told me, and I'm quoting, "You're in the best hands. We're going to develop Wonder Woman 3 with you." Yes, he did say that. We love you as Wonder Woman. You've got nothing to worry about. So time will tell. This may have been the same day they were having meetings with Ben Affleck when he said, according to Gunn, that he'd be glad to direct something in the new DC universe. And then when they asked Affleck about it, he's like, fuck to the no. I'm not doing that. So again, I've been calling I'm not so sure on this shit. I'm sure Gunn and James Gunn and Peter Safran said a lot of shit to some of these guys too at the time. So we'll keep going here. Sources added to Variety that nothing was ever promised to Gadot regarding Wonder Woman 3, nor was there any definitive discussion of Gadot's Wonder Woman continuing with the new DC universe. Gunn and Safran gave a presentation at the start of the year unveiling the first titles in their new DC universe, including Superman Legacy, and they continue to be laser focused on these new films. Variety has reached out to Gadot's representation for further comment. Gadot originated the role of Wonder Woman, blah, 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 shit that we already know about. All right. So now that there's been some sources out there saying that this is not necessarily in development, we don't even understand why Gadot is saying this shit. She was never promised anything. What's your reactions? CC, let's start with you.
Well, I mean, nothing's in development right now.
In general, you're not wrong there. Yeah.
I wonder how long the strike's going to go.
You're not wrong.
I mean, if this drags on to next year, whatever their plans were last year, you're talking about 2 years of time just going by. Things can go in a whole different direction by then. I don't doubt that she talked to somebody who thought, hey, let's maybe do this, but whether that actually turns into something in 2024 or 2025 to actually begin development is, I mean, there's no way that she would know now. That's my best guess.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, I don't know where she's just pulling this out of nowhere. It's really coming out of nowhere, seems like to me. I mean, how did she get into this conversation with anyone and it got out into the press just like this at the time like that, when no one's even, she's not on that list or she wasn't in that big list of all the announcements way earlier in the year. So it's bizarre to me that this is coming up now.
I mean, it wasn't in development at some extended level prior to the strike, right?
No,
not
at all. There was no announcement. There has not been a talk about this third movie since and I'm doing quotation marks, greenlit this third movie after the absolute bombing, which, to be fair, it was probably good. Obviously there was not a major theatrical release of Wonder Woman 1984 in 2020. I remember they announced that they had greenlighted a third movie, but we had never heard a word since. It was kind of like how we had never heard a word about the guys who worked on Game of Thrones doing a Star Wars movie. There was an initial announcement and nothing occurred after that.
There was the Patty Jenkins thing where she got fired.
Well, that's a Patty Jenkins thing, but think about those Game of Thrones guys who were supposed to do Star Wars movie. We heard an initial announcement and there was nothing to be seen at all. Whereas Patty Jenkins, there was stuff brought up, and they're like, "Oh, it's happening, it's happening." And then
she got let go right around the same time that Gunn and Safran would have been taking over. So I'm not saying she didn't have a meeting with them.
Yeah, I guess.
But at that time, I'm not even. This is what I was getting at too. Is I'm not even 100% sure they knew what the fuck was going on yet. Like, I'm wondering if they told her this shit right after they just exited Patty Jenkins, and here's Gal probably freaking the fuck out. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what the fuck else can you tell her? Bitch, you just walked away with $100 million for a movie that nobody else made any money on but you and Patty Jenkins. Okay, you've been in almost every single other fucking Marvel or DC movie. Call that a win and walk away, because
twice this year.
Twice this year, exactly. And there's even rumors that she had a cameo for Blue Beetle, and I don't know if it's still going to wind up in the movie or not, but yeah.
It might. I wouldn't be surprised.
I wonder, do you think maybe there's a possibility that this conversation took place at a time before they decided that they were gonna
that's what I was
pretty much can implying. Everything?
Yes, that's what I was implying, Nick. Exactly.
And then she was like, "Oh crap, they're canning everything, and I have nothing to keep myself relevant." So maybe this is her trying to bring herself back into it.
That part could also be true, because I don't remember who speculated on that on the morning show, but yeah, that was also brought up. Is that,
because think about it, what else does she have besides
some new movie?
Her role in Fast.
Well, that's just it. This new movie is like a straight to Netflix fucking movie or some shit like that. Yeah.
So that's the only thing I could imagine is she knows that she was out, and yes, I truly do believe. I don't think she would lie about this conversation. No, I think it was at a time where things were not as
in flux. Yeah,
she's 38.
That's the other thing I've been saying, dude, is like, first of all, the only thing that we have announced so far in this early DC 10-year plan, the only thing remotely close to Wonder Woman is that Themyscira, and they keep saying it's a prequel. I want to go back and find the video, because I don't remember if they called it a prequel or they said it's set before the time of Wonder Woman. I think that's the way James put it, which tells me that this is not a prequel to Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. This is a brand new setup for a future Wonder Woman, right? Because what are we getting in this first phase? Basically, we're getting, or first chapter, as they were calling it. We're getting a brand new Superman. We're going to get a brand new Batman, even though a lot of people tried to say, "Oh, George Clooney's Batman now," and I said, "Fucking bullshit."
Yeah,
why?
Right.
And if anything, just for the very reason of they are never going to cast somebody who's old enough to be their fucking great grandfather of Jason, I almost called him Jason Todd, of Damian Wayans, right? Like that's never going to fucking happen. I guarantee you they're going to find somebody in their 30 or 40s, late 30s, early 40s ish, probably more or less, to probably because the character of Damien's supposed to be in what, the 15-year-old range, I think they said, 15 to 17.
Yeah, he is the.
You're not going to have a 70-year-old dad,
no,
dragging around a kid. It's just not going to. No. So I can already tell you they're going to recast that role. We already knew that. And if they're not going to bring back Affleck in that role, then clearly they're going to recast it, because Affleck is still sort of within age range, but he's pushing it, right? And that's the thing people got to understand. And I've been saying this for a while about Cavill too. Sure, Cavill looks the part now. He can still play the part. He possibly could play the part for the next 10 years. But is Warner Brothers willing to make that gamble? And are they going to pay him the amount of money they're going to have to pay him? Fuck no, because I guarantee you that's the first thing Zaslav told these guys is, I don't give a shit what you do as long as these movies don't cost over $100 million.
Yeah.
I guarantee you. And the first thing they were thinking, well, first, that means we're going to have to get rid of Ben Affleck. That means we're going to have to get rid of Gal. We're going to have to get rid of Henry. We can't afford to have all these guys around, because I guarantee you at this point, all of them are at that $10, $15 million level or higher. We already know what Gal Gadot got for the last Wonder Woman movie, because she got paid out. So these guys were also getting back-end deals, which tells me if Jason Momoa had a back-end deal for fucking Aquaman, how much did that bitch bring home? Holy shit. Because that movie made over $1 billion. So he'd had to be one of the higher paid ones of the group so far when it comes to the after part. But anyway, I'm at this point where I'd rather, and I know most people, there's a big fucking debate on this online, whether you're in the Snyder camp, whether you're in the camp that doesn't really give a shit about either, you just want good DC, or you're in the camp of just rebooted already. It's obvious that I'm in the camp of rebooted already, but I've also come to that point because from what my sources were telling me before is that was where we were headed. So I was kind of more of an acceptance at this point. It's like, all right, I'm cool with that. Let's go. Because I don't care. I was fine with bringing back Cavill and Godot and Affleck and all those guys and trying to revamp the series through the events of Flashpoint. That's clearly not what's happening now. As much as they tried to pretend that was what was going to happen. And as much as one thing has been consistent from the start is unless it comes straight out of James Gunn's mouth and he specifically says this specific insert your thing here is happening and the day it's coming out or whatever it's coming and we're working on it, I don't trust anything is coming. He has not commented on this. The closest he did is somebody sent me the link and other people posted on this where earlier this year, somebody posted a deal about Wonder Woman 3 will not be in the first 3 years of the new DCU. And somebody posted, James Gunn, please debunk this. And he goes, I hereby debunk this. All he's debunking is that Wonder Woman will appear. Doesn't say shit about Gal Gadot.
And at that point, it doesn't make sense even call it a Wonder Woman 3 down the road. If it's that far down the line, that's just basically a rebooted Wonder Woman. That's not a third movie because brand new universe, new casting of the character. The one thing if it was the casting of the same character in the same continuity, sure, but this is a whole other story that was going on, and it's also that far down. It makes no sense for it to even have that.
And I hate saying this, but guess what? Unless you get a rare occasion where you're like a Sally Field or somebody like that who happens to age so fucking gracefully, most women start wearing their age about when they hit about 35 to 40 is about when you can start seeing them. And at that point, either they're going to go one way or they're going to be lucky. And those rare few get lucky and they look as beautiful as somebody like Six in the chat, I'm told. So there you go. Hey, Six, how you doing?
And look, I think Gal Gadot could do that. I'm not like she looks really nice right now. I don't mind just watching her on screen for a couple hours. Just
no, I'm not saying that she's not beautiful now, but will she be in 5 years? That's my point.
She might will. Let's assume she is. Let's assume that she's a gorgeous 60,
I don't
70
think that's out of the realm of possibility. I think can she keep up with the role down the line?
Dude, but
in terms of the physicality.
Do I think that they will do it anyways at this point when they could recast it along with the whole series with someone much younger? It's Hollywood, I'm trying to just be realistic here. It's like I think you're right, Tom. If they're going to recast everyone else and reboot this thing, they're probably going to recast her too. She might come back, for a cameo. You can write that into a script. They've done that already plenty of times. She'll always be one of the Wonder Women, but I mean, she's not. I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna keep her for the next 10 years when they're not keeping everyone else.
Could be. I just think it's a bunch of smoke, nothing with no fire in here. I mean, it's just I agree. I really don't know what she's bringing this up for now. I don't.
Once Quabi, I'm truly convinced it's just a way of saying maybe if I speak about it, maybe this can get buzz going to get people to be like, hey, look, she's come back, and try to get people, because if they see, okay, people are talking about it, they want it, should we do it type of thing.
Yeah.
That's where I think it is. Because, some people do want to think that if they try to get, the public to speak about it, that'll be the whole marketing to decide to get them to convince them. Because sometimes, we all saw how it worked when what's his face was not Reed Richards and Doctor Strange and the Mom. People kept saying, hey, this should happen, and the studio's like, hey, all these people are saying it, maybe we should do it. So this is her trying to do that, is what I think. But I don't think it should happen. I think she did her time as a character, and I'm not seeing it from the age perspective. I just think it's just more of a simpler, the ship has sailed.
Yeah, and I mean, Jared Jarrett DeTio might be right here, where he says might be putting DC on the spot. Yeah, like I'm sure she's been well aware that Gunn's been out there, answering certain rumors and whatnot. Even though I think he recently said that he wasn't going to do that anymore, at least for a while he's busy. But no, I mean, I wonder if that's another reason why she's doing this. She's trying to force their hand over there to kind of give her a window of when she knows this is going to happen, perhaps. Because maybe she has not heard shit from them for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Which is what I was kind of saying earlier. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Could be wrong. We'll have to wait and find out. We have no super chats, surprisingly. I don't know if they're working or not, but I know we had one at the beginning of the show. But I'm surprised you guys didn't chime in on this. But
what?
Yeah, so let us know in the comments in the chat if you think Gal's blowing hot air. Do you think that James Gunn is the one who lied to her, or what? I think it's kind of a mixture of the two, and Gal's kind of trying to get the news stirred up about it again is all.
Well,
yeah, that's what I think.
Think about it, Tom. What other role does she have that she can keep herself going in the spotlight?
None. And that's just it. And I think Klobby was making that point, and we were talking about, the whole thing, what this interview started from was this straight to Netflix movie she was doing. Now, don't get me wrong. Go ahead, Klobby.
No, go ahead. I was going to say the same thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, and to me at this point, we're getting to there to where straight to Netflix isn't as luxurious as it used to be, I'm sure.
No.
I mean, in her last other big movie that I can think of, unless somebody can remind me of something else she's done, was that, Death on the Nile movie, and she wasn't even the main star of that. I mean, she was one of the main stars, but she's kind of also in this place like with The Rock, where it's like, unless she's in a ensemble cast, I have yet to see proof that she can sell a movie on her own. I mean, not that she's really good in...
I don't think she can. I don't think she can at all. Every time she gets even the smallest role, though, now that you see like this one or whatever, this new thing coming out, she's going to take the time to milk the Wonder Woman thing for all it's worth. And they're always going to ask her, so I'm talking about your new movie now, but hey, is there any chance we're going to see you as Wonder Woman again one of these days? That's always going to come up. Always.
Yep. It's she's basically, it's like the Snyder crowd. Maybe if I say something, I can wish it into existence.
Well, hopefully it'll
she's lived long enough to become one of them.
What's going to be sad is in like 10, 15 years from now, they're still going to be asking her that. You're right, Klobby. Yep. And it'll be just like poor fucking Alicia Silverstone, where they keep making this girl think she has a career by asking her, are you ever going to play Batgirl again? It's like, stop putting those thoughts in this girl's head.
Yes, stop it. They won't stop.
You're making her think she still has a career.
So I think she was probably just saying, well, we're going to probably, I've talked to those guys and, we hope, who knows, maybe it'll happen. I don't know what. Remember back when all those days of the big Firefly thing when they would not leave Josh Whedon or Nathan Fillion and those people along. So Firefly's coming back. They'll get a new project. So and they'll ask them about it and they go, so Firefly's coming back, right? When's it coming back? 10 years of it.
Yeah. Well, and sooner or later, you just reach that point, right? Like, and that's what I'm saying is like, we're already 2008, 2020 is when the second film came out. Okay. So we're already 3 years removed from that.
Yeah.
We know we're at least 2 years out from Superman Legacy. And outside of a few TV shows in between there, after Aquaman, there is no announced movies that we know of coming out. So unless they bum rush a Wonder Woman 3 out at some point in between all that, which I'm not saying isn't above the realm of possibility, but time's a ticking. And unless they're going to shove that into Elseworld somehow, because I really don't see Gunn wanting to muddy up his new universe with much of anything. Because, like, listen to the fucking political talk he gives you all the time. It's like shit like, oh yeah, Blue Beetle is the first character in the new DC DC, but the first movie is Superman Legacy. It's like, what the fuck does that mean? I can tell you what that means. That means that Blue Beetle has probably been edited enough to where it does not have anything to do with the current DC universe or any connections whatsoever. It's far enough away that you can watch this movie. If the movie does well, Sholo's coming back. That's what that means.
I thought about that too, Tom. I didn't thought about it on a reshooting level. I thought maybe this is hey, hint, hint. This is our way of getting you to make the movie seem like it matters. That way, should it do well, yeah, we'll put him in this new universe because we need this movie to do well. And obviously, Paulie's got his showing for which, hey, good for him. I think
I hope
his
it
cause
does
for
well
is
for
great.
Sholo's sake, especially because he deserves it. But yeah.
Yeah, no, he's obviously a very talented kid, even though he's got a director who definitely wishes things in his own head. We're not going to go over Soto and his weird direction, but I like that Sholo has a career that I don't honestly, even if Blue Beetle doesn't pan out, he's still such a young guy. Something's going to fall in his lap after Cobra Kai. You can't say a kid like that who's shown his talents doesn't have any demand. I'm sure once, especially once Cobra Kai has its last season, he is going to be let out onto the wild.
Yeah. We'll have to see how that rolls. Now, didn't you, was it you that brought something up in the group chat about Blue Beetle, or who was it?
The
Was it you, Bobby?
director,
Yeah, it was you. About the Bane thing. What was that all about? Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Oh, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Since we're on the subject of Blue Beetle, what's this about? Because I've not heard this yet. What's going on with the Bane thing? I heard something about it, but I didn't hear the whole story.
The director of Blue Beetle was going on saying that Bane is this whole he represents American interventionism, and Graham Nolan responded, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, people.
He also said that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah,
that was his first response.
Yeah, and that was his first
Chuck
response.
Dixon also ridiculed it. The guys who, in other words, the creators of the character. So.
Yeah, the creators of the character are basically taking pot shots at this. Yeah, they're taking pot shots at him. And you know what? I'd say it's warranted because it's clear this guy was trying to put this idea in people's head. It's kind of like the people who say oh, comics were always this, comics were always that. They lied to people just so they can try to get public opinion on their side. And if they feel like they have to lie about it, they will do it. So they try to put these ideas in people's heads of things.
Interesting.
It's dumb. It's stupid. But this is the year we live in where people want to think if they lie hard enough that they can make their lie become reality in their own heads. And, well, this guy sounds like he fits in with that current crop of...
Right.
Wish the lie into existence.
Well, the upshot of Blue Beetle is that it won't have the ability of having the actors out on the red carpet saying anything stupid because they're not allowed to do all the interview stuff or whatever because of the strike.
Really?
So,
that's right. Yeah.
Well, because of the strike.
That's this week, right? That'll be next week.
Yeah, because there's some people predicting that's possibly one of the reasons why Barbie and Oppenheimer managed to do okay because they stopped dumbasses from talking about Barbie for long enough.
That's
this week. Any more about it?
Blue Beetle's this
right? Next week I think it is, but
next weekend,
this next week, because this week the Demeter movie opens and
the what?
The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Oh yeah.
The Dracula movie and I believe Gran Turismo opens this weekend. If not, that's next week too.
Yeah.
Waltman 4 says the one good thing about the writer's strike, no late shows, especially with all the political hubbub going on right now. Right? Like, oh gosh. I tune out of a lot of it just in general. Naaman's the Retuber says to placate Tom, Gel's stuck doing straight to Netflix now. Yeah. We got into that whole discussion. And again, I don't wish any bad upon her. I don't think she's an ugly woman. I'm not saying she's going to let herself go and get ugly in the next 10 years.
No,
I'm just looking at it I'm just looking at it from a corporate perspective. This chick has already cost them $100 million. She is not getting any younger. She's not getting any cheaper. And she doesn't really have a draw of her. Like, if anything, you could make an argument that Henry Cavill has a bigger fan base than her. Right? That is clear.
That's not even close. And I'm not, and I say that, that with no disrespect to her. And I'm not one of those people saying that with a backward psychology. I truly don't mean that as a dig of any kind. I just think that's a very
but you get what I'm getting at.
Convinced opinion that kind of almost leans on fact.
Yeah, I'm being a little pessimistic. That Hollywood can hire any number of thousands of people to replace her unless she can prove that she has real chops for like a high level thing. You know what I mean?
Honestly, I know
Michelle Pfeiffer hasn't been like setting the world on fire recently.
Well, yeah, but she's
I
also
like
almost
her.
70. But well, she was in the recent Ant-Man movie, so she had that going.
Oh, yeah, she
and
still
she
has a
was actually,
career.
speaking of Death on the Nile, she was in that. Or the one before that, wasn't it? Whichever one it was.
She's
She was in
proven her
one of them.
chops,
Yeah.
and she's still very, very good looking, so she will continue to get work.
Oh yeah, for her age,
but,
oh my God, does she still look good?
Exactly. That's why I
Because
bring
the
her
amount
up.
of cocaine that woman did in the 80s, I can't believe how good she looks.
It's amazing.
You can't tell me she did. Especially during the Scarface era. They were living that life. I guarantee you that. But yes, Scribe Light is right. There's over 500 of you now watching. Please hit the like button. If we actually manage to hit over 400 likes, the deal is I give Sadie a treat. So there you go. I think she heard her name. So
Give her a treat.
She's still laying down for now. So yes.
Get to the thumbs up.
And then we've got Scissors with the Runs, who says Gal's grasp of English is only slightly above her acting talent. That's the other thing. Look, I don't think she's that great of a fucking actress. Listening to her in that interview was grating as fuck. And you can tell they edit the hell around her performance in every one of these movies. She has a monotone voice. She does not know how to act. She's good looking, great.
Yeah.
But Gina Carano would have been a fucking hell of a lot better Wonder Woman than her. I said it. I don't give a shit. You can call me I'm simping for Gina or what the fuck ever. I don't give a fuck. But just from what I saw in Star Wars, if you implanted that into Wonder Woman, done.
Gina has charisma.
Exactly.
People are drawn to her. Like she could just be herself, and everybody will gather around her, which is perfect. Really.
And I know some people were going to bring up, no, I don't think she is. I think she's the right size. See, that's the thing. People forget. I always said that fucking Gal was too scrawny because people forget that Wonder Woman's supposed to be an Amazonian. I mean, she's supposed to be a bigger girl.
Overweight. She's got muscle.
No,
like,
that's my point.
She's a good fit.
Exactly.
Muscle.
Fit. Yes. I am though, but I'm a Gina simp too at the same time. But not just Gina. There's other ones out there who could have done a much better job. And I'm not trying to dump on Gal, but it's just she got lucky. She should run with it. She should just go with it now and try and get what she can from here on out and realize that she got lucky to have this decade to play this character that nobody else besides Linda Carter and a few other people have been fortunate to play in like very small, moments in history. Because the one thing that I say is a travesty about Wonder Woman is that Gal should be like our third or fourth movie version by now, right? Like after Superman and Batman were hits, each time we should have got a new Wonder Woman movie. Like Wonder Woman should have been right there next to him. I don't understand. Like I don't know if Supergirl killed that or what, but like Supergirl never made as much sense to me as like, why are you not doing Wonder Woman? I mean, maybe just because I think the Salkinds happen to own the rights. Correct me if I'm wrong, Clobby, because Supergirl came along with those rights, but
the Salkinds, but yeah. But I think a lot of it is I don't know. One is Supergirl still got the word super connected to her, but it didn't really help her.
That too, but I was like I say, I don't think they had to pay extra for the rights. Was my point? Yeah.
Oh no. Well, the Salkinds.
They already had her included with the Superman rights,
right.
I think.
Yeah, they couldn't get Wendy. The Wonder Woman's rights were actually kind of tied up. No pun.
Yeah. Unintended, there, sir.
Universal, or whatever it was. I did.
You intended.
I did. You say no pun when you really mean yes pun.
I know.
So
yeah, who was it that did that show? Was it Universal?
Oh, it was on CBS. Well, first it was on ABC, then it was on CBS. But I don't think it was. Oh man, I don't know. May have been Universal. I couldn't really tell you. But yeah, when they did that challenge of the superheroes in the late 70s and the superheroes roast, the 2-night thingy, they couldn't use Wonder Woman or Superman, so they used Captain Marvel, the real deal, the Shazam one, and they used I can't remember which female characters they used, but they couldn't use Wonder Woman.
I have that on DVD,
she was in a
by the way.
Oh yeah, I remember. Never forget that came on NBC 2 nights in a row.
Yeah, they've got a two. Yeah, it's like a 2-part thing on a disc.
Yeah, and then there was the superheroes roast. Adam West and Burt Ward.
Yeah, Adam West and Burt Ward are on it. Yep.
Yeah, probably the last time they ever played the characters, if you don't count the animated series they did before that.
I was gonna say, is it?
Well, yeah, because Batman to the Batcave doesn't really count.
Okay. I'll accept that. Trying to think,
they did play them again.
I was going to say, when was the Scooby Doo one? Wasn't that a little later?
The cartoon?
Yeah, when they came out, they were on Scooby Doo. Was that in the 60s?
They did it in the early 60s, early 70s, something like that. Yeah,
was it early?
But remember,
70s,
they did New Adventures of Batman.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, and they also had the other animated version. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but actually, the last time they played those characters was in 1985 at the World of Wheels and down here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, because I went to see them. They were in costume.
That was what I was wondering. Well, weren't both of them on The Simpsons together too, though? But I don't think they were.
Oh, I guess. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Costume then too. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
Because I do remember that was one of the more famous ones. Because Adam West is like, I didn't need padding to play Batman.
That
was all me. I loved Adam West. Oh man,
no, it was great.
Speaking of Batman, did I even show my shirt off on this show? I don't think I did. I showed it to you guys before the show.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not a bitch. Too bad Rich isn't here to see this.
Nice.
He's still, I think, over there hanging out with the guys on Pro yet. Script Doctor.
Love it.
Yeah. Let's see here. We've got where were we? Goddess of Whim, who says Gal Gadot is as much of a draw to me as Jason Momoa, which to say is not at all. Well, see, that's the thing, Goddess. You're in the rare form when it comes to women and with Jason Momoa, but yeah. I see.
Yeah.
That's very fair.
How Aquaman made $1 billion.
Oh, Jason Momoa is how it made $1 billion.
Exactly.
Like I just said, Goddess is the exception to the rule, Claudia. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, it's just crazy. But I like this here, Claudia. That lady who played, and I love the John Carter movie, an underrated movie that was really treated poorly. The lady who plays Deja Thor, she's referring to there for your super chat there.
The girl from John Carter in the movie was my choice for Wonder Woman.
I'm
trying to remember
wonderful.
Her. I've seen John Carter. I got it, but
I love John Carter, and I totally agree with Claudia.
In fact,
a wonderful choice. I don't know why I'm embarrassed that I'm forgetting her name, but I love her.
Look.
Oh man,
I can read.
It's on the tip, but that's a great movie, an underrated, underappreciated movie that got screwed over by corporate politics.
Oh, let's see here. We got Lynn Collins. Could that be
Lynn Collins? That's it. Lynn Collins.
Okay. God, they make this writing so small, and I'm getting so old.
Yeah, that's a great
right within my reach. The 3D version.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
The lenticular.
Yeah, pull that Blu-ray out and watch it again soon.
Pull it out. Come on.
Do it now.
Come on. Nah.
Yes, but actually, that's funny because that reminds me of what we may be talking about this Sunday on the show. If you make it, I found a list of franchises that deserve a second chance, and that was on there.
It does.
Yeah.
It took almost 100 years to get that movie made.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you're not being facetious or hyperbolic. You're acting like 100 fucking years.
If you don't count the stupid Sci-Fi Channel idiot crap with Tracy
Lords. Did they
Lords.
do one for that? I didn't know that.
Antonio Sabato Jr. and Tracy Lords did do a Sci-Fi Channel TP a couple of years before that.
You know what? I was reminded that there was a fucking Body Snatchers in the 90s that I totally spaced on.
Oh, it happens. But that one doesn't count. John Carter's the real deal. That was I mean, it was released like pretty much 12 almost. It was 2012, so it's like about 100 years since the first Princess of Mars book.
Right.
And he was doing things that Superman does in those stories.
Well, there's people who say that, clearly Superman got inspired from that, and Star Wars
and Flash Gordon and a lot of other things.
Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers,
And it's not even the original. There was a book about 20 years previous that called Gulliver of Mars, which is pretty much almost the same story. I love Edgar Rice Burroughs, but he kind of borrowed heavily from Gulliver of Mars.
Oh, I didn't even know that. See, learn something new every day here on Midnight Edge After Dark. That's why we have you here, Club, you see.
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I'm always sorry.
Cause Clubby knows. See, that's what he's got to
say. I'm the Canadian. I'm supposed to be the one who's sorry all the time.
Yeah. He's supposed to be over here going, sorry.
Yes,
like, shut the fuck up.
CC, I'm sorry to hear that.
Enough. Jesus Davila didn't say nothing, just sent in $10. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate the support here.
Hey, $10.
Very generous. $10 is now I got to take my shirt off, I think.
Ooh.
As long as I don't have to put nothing in my mouth again.
Uh-oh.
I like turtles.
What?
I also
Shit,
like
I said that
turtles.
out loud. So yeah, the Wonder Woman news was one thing. But let's move from DC over to Marvel. Oh, we got another super chat before we do that. Claudia Pimentel sends in another one and says, totally agree with I think she means Clobby. John Carter was very underrated movie. Yeah. Well, then you guys might want to tune in on Sunday because I have a feeling we'll talk a little bit about that. Maybe Clobby will join us. He does when he gets a chance. So yeah.
They changed a lot of stuff that kind of bothered me in that story in the movie that went from the original story, Princess of Mars. And it took me a while to get to warm up to Taylor. What was it Taylor Kitsch, the guy, the actor? But he still doing a great job. But overall, it's terrific. It deserves so much more. And incidentally, it is not true that it bombed. That movie did not bomb. It didn't reach the expectations that it took a long time to get there, but actually did not bomb. People don't look at that. It made money. It's not enough. And it wasn't.
Well, Disney spent too much too. That was the other problem.
Right. Yeah.
But speaking of Disney spending too much, that's actually another good segue right into our next story here. We want to save this job, says Marvel visual effects workers as they fight to unionize. Now we kind of probably giggle at that because the shit job they've done lately.
What in the hell?
Well,
but we might have some reasons for that. Go ahead, you guys.
That actually sounds like a very hey, we care about our job statement, and they have been under poor conditions with the fact that they've been handed more projects and then less time to do them. This is going to be one of those, I guess you could say, parts of the industry where unless they start making some outlandish demands, I think they're 100% in the right as we speak currently.
Well, and I don't know if this actually has the one quote that I saw today on X, but I
actually believe all those highlighted
it might
words
be
down
in
there.
here. So I'm not even going to say it yet. So let's get into this. After and again, remember that this is why the guys who made Deadpool, the original Deadpool, got sued. Because they ended up making a bunch of animators work overtime and they didn't pay them. So even though they're like, yeah, they bragged about making this movie for $80 million, they ended up having to spend out another $20 million or better in just lawsuits. So it's like, okay, there you go. There's the $20 million it would have cost you to just pay these fucking people to begin with, if you would have, or hire more people so they wouldn't all had to work so hard. But anyway, that being said, after countless reports of crunch, impossibly tight turnarounds, and drastically low pay for long hours, Marvel's VFX workers are fighting back. It was announced earlier this week that over 50 VFX workers at Marvel voted to file for a union election at the National Labor Relations Board to be represented by the International Alliance of Theater Stage Employees, or IATSE, as we call it popularly around here. And according to the 5 organizers and Marvel VFX workers IGN spoke to in the wake of the announcement, the move isn't just something that's been a long time coming. It's an entertainment industry where nearly every other faction is unionized. It's necessary to even make it possible to continue doing this work. See, now I'm surprised these guys don't already fall under like the animation union or the VFX union as it is. Isn't there already a visual effects union?
Not that I don't know how
that may be the case.
Though.
I mean, I was hoping Script would be here for this one, but I'm not 100% sure if there is. I'm going to have to ask Gary Tunnicliffe about that. Because if that's the case, well, what the fuck? Right? You got union for craft services in this bitch. How are the visual effects guys not a part of the union? Mm-hmm. Right, Sadie. Yeah. I don't know if you guys heard her moaning and groaning over there, but yeah,
we did it.
She's upset because you guys have only got 250 likes here. She's not happy with that.
Guys, you guys halfway to come on, make it happen.
You guys are being not even minimum effort puppies right now. According to her. Yeah. So anyway, moving on with this story. Like, I mean, this is another thing I pointed out to people, like, especially whenever anybody posts something like, how is it that a movie like Jurassic Park that was made in 1993 looks more realistic than a movie made today? And it's like, well, first of all, Jurassic Park only had like 53 CGI shots in the whole movie.
Yeah, they used models.
Otherwise, yeah, it's all models. It's various other ways of doing special effects. But the point being is only 53 shots out of a 2-hour movie were CGI. The latest Jurassic film has like over 2,500 or more visual effects shots in the whole movie.
Here's where Jurassic Park, the original, got it right with the CG. They use it where needed because CG is supposed to be like an enhancement to something that's already there. Now it's become an over reliance.
Exactly. Well, especially if you look at the proportion.
It's supposed to be a, like, I guess you could say, an icing on the cake layer equivalent. It's supposed to just enhance something, nothing more. Instead, they're just making something that it's completely dependent on.
Well, yeah, we've had this conversation
a lot. Yeah. I know.
And we've had this conversation. We all are in agreement on it too. That's the other thing is like, yeah, we've all come to an agreement that clearly the bigger problem is they're excessive. They use it for reasons they shouldn't. I mean, when you have a movie like Aquaman where they flat out, or not Aquaman, Flash recently that just come out, where we were told flat out where every single shot in the movie has some CGI element in it. Not just most of, all of, every single frame of that movie has been touched in some way by some digital artist. Isn't that fucking insane to think of that? It might as well be an animated film at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand this. And I've told my favorite story of them all is where, and I got to find the documentary I took this from so I can give the visual effects artist credit. Because he was talking about how he was on the shoot where this director and this cinematographer were arguing about, or floor manager, whoever it was production manager, was arguing about, you know, how much they were going to spend on this shot because they had it was a period piece they were shooting and they had an air conditioner duct in the shot. And they're freaking out because it was going to cost $2,000 or $5,000 to have it removed. And while they were arguing, the visual effects guy walks over, turns everything 90 degrees, and goes, there, I just saved you guys $10,000. Now shoot the fucking scene. Right? Like, I mean, it's just even the stupidity that comes out of it. The laziness is one thing, but it's just not just even laziness anymore, Nick. It's stupidity in some cases. It's just, why are you... The biggest one I remember, and this is one that I remember of stupidity of this, is when you've got J.J. fucking Abrams shooting Rise of Palpatine, which is still shooting, by the way. And you got this shot of him in the desert, and he literally has like the world's biggest blown up green screen in the desert. And they're in like fucking Africa shooting this shit. It's like, do you realize how much you could have saved just shooting that in California? In the fucking desert? What the fuck are we doing here?
And that's a spending issue there. That's a whole separate issue. That's a spending issue. That's not, people are thinking, hey, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
That's a whole other can. You unleashed a whole, that's not even a can of worms. That's a can of
Well, unfortunately, Nick, that all feeds into this, right?
Yes.
Because that's my point, is when you have guys who used to just be liable for literally minutes at best of a movie, now are responsible for each and every shot, right?
In a movie, yeah.
In a movie, right? Like, I mean, I've listened to horror stories about, like, my favorite one, and this is a physical effects age, we're listening to Chris Wallace talk about making Gremlins. Everybody else loved making Gremlins. It was fun. It was this, that, or the other, except for the fucking special effects guys. Every story they have is a horror story because of the shit they had to go through to get these fucking puppets to work. And then every time Spielberg would come in for a visit, something would fucking change. And Chris would have a fucking meltdown because he's like, how the fuck am I supposed to get a Mogwai into this movie when there were only supposed to be 4 of them or 5 of them in the first fucking half hour of the movie? Now I got to have one through the whole movie. Just little shit like that happens. And he figured it out. But nowadays it would just be like, oh, we'll just do it with CGI. You know, and that's the problem is instead of having to figure out, and you know what he did? It was real simple. After he had his fucking meltdown, he sat down and he looked at the Mogwais. He looked over and there was a backpack sitting there and he's like, duh! So he put the fucking Mogwai in a backpack. It's as simple as that. Like, that's not even in the story. It's just a matter of he looks over, I can fit a bunch of servos in there. And you can have him pop up, move his head, bob his ears. We can work with this. See, innovation comes up, and something that probably cost them a couple $100 in parts at a fucking Radio Shack, a book bag, and one of the Gizmo models they put together in one night, and that covered the whole fucking movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's how have we gone from there to where now that would be done in CGI in every single fucking shot throughout the movie?
Well, it's diminishing returns, right?
Exactly.
Lord of the Ring, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy is perfect. They used models for everything, and then they hired a few extremely talented artists to amplify those models. But when you're doing the entire movie in CG, you have to hire way more people, and there aren't that many incredibly talented artists. You have to start hiring less talented artists to get the
or outsourcing it to other countries, and that's why you have tons of these like Asian artists working on these movies now.
And then you add the time crunch and
Korean,
what do you expect? You're going to get a whole lot of lazy, low-level
She-Hulk level shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I'm getting at, yeah.
They don't want to like think, oh, once again, this is it's everyone's fault but us. No one wants to say, hey guys, we're messing up here, we need to like course correct. No one wants to accept any responsibility. No, I don't blame the CGI department, because they actually are actual victims in this situations with this situation. But the people who are being overworked by, no one's saying, hey, we're overworking these guys. Not one of them. And if they are, they're not saying out loud, which is really weird, because anytime there comes I support the current thing political topic, they are the first ones to go out and say it right away just to follow on with the script. But the minute there's actual problems, genuine issues with people in their own, where are they?
Yeah, well, let's read what this says here. Let's go through this. These are companies which are making billions of dollars off of our work. Wow, that's questionable. The reasonableness of our demands, asking just to be put on the same deal as people working alongside of us, be given access to healthcare and pension fund and the basic protection of our work. We feel that this is one of the most reasonable demands that anyone has ever made, and they're not wrong. I didn't even know they didn't have a union already. Mark Patch, a VFX organizer for IATSE and a former coordinator on Disney Plus's WandaVision, tells IGN. Yeah, so I wonder if they're going to get his quotes in here, because this is where I saw this on Twitter. These basic, I think it was his quotes, I mean, is what I'm saying. These basic protections, the workers say, are things that they felt forced to demand. There's an effort to get by with as few people as possible and wait for us to basically raise hell and say, we are not sleeping anymore. We haven't seen our families. We're working every weekend, Patch says. Then that's when they say, oh, okay, we'll get some more bodies sometimes. In attempting to join IATSE, the Marvel VFX workers are looking to be protected by terms under IATSE's basic agreement, which includes minimum wage increases, the MPI pension and healthcare plans, turnaround improvements, meal penalty improvements, and more. Basically, as Patch notes, it's making sure that the VFX are no longer the Wild West, but ultimately this is also about respect for the work that we do, how essential we are for filmmaking in the filmmaking pipeline. And he says, we're not waiting. This is about justice for VFX workers. You're going to see the similar campaigns rolling out across town. It's a movement that we're joining. Now I'm trying to jump in ahead here because
oh, Tom, look, it's that headline there is something that you and, well, a few of us have been saying for a while now. The McDonald's of content. Sound familiar?
Yep. I was just going to say we're getting here, but I want to get to their quotes on, because he tells us a story about basically, I don't want to jump ahead here because it probably isn't there, but I saw it on Twitter where he said that when he was working on WandaVision, they had already been working 18-hour days. And basically they said that they weren't going to get any time off until episode 10 was done or whatever.
This was a big story in gaming too, crunch, right? Where the video game developers were being forced to work ridiculous hours to meet deadlines. And then the amount of money they got paid was based on whether or not the game performed from a critical standpoint. If they didn't meet an 80 or a 90 Metascore, they wouldn't get their bonuses. And they're working 18-hour days. They're doing the best they can. They're burning out, and you just can't, right? So I can sympathize with that for sure.
I do too. Here's another thing with this. even if I had the same sympathy that I do for the VFX, the other departments, writing, actor, like 100% full support, it still doesn't matter. And here's why it doesn't matter. Because these people who bust themselves quite almost literally to get these projects made, and there's even, once again, not including the lazy ones, the skin that they have in the game versus all the bigwigs, they don't have the same skin in the game. The bigwigs just think, oh, we can just dispose of you, or you're going to get it done anyway because you need us more than we need you. They're never going to see it eye to eye the same way. There's way too many corporatism involved in all these things. These industries need to be smaller to where we don't have these types of people involved at the top. The people who should be at the top are people who have, I don't know, the investment that the people who actually work on the movies do.
Right.
But there's even not just a disconnect between people who make movies and the fans, but there's a disconnect within the industry itself from the people who work on it and the people who make the most money from it as well.
Well, and I see what happened here was, and I know Victoria Alonso was one of the main culprits of this problem. And that's what they're talking about here with the McDonald's of content. And they're talking and referring about just the special effects portion of it, but I was saying about it in general.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as he says here at the bottom, what you're expected to do each day what you're expected to do each day and how the shows are run, it definitely feels more like a conveyor belt nowadays than necessarily each project being given its own thought and time. She says, this is from somebody else, as opposed to now where it's like, well, this is coming up and now we have to do this. And this is coming up and we have to do this. It's really like the McDonald's of content. So yeah, like they're just getting, like they said also here above, when you're turning a 90-minute movie into 10-hour feature, basically doing 10 times the amount of work. They're talking about a TV series within the same or even sometimes shorter period of time. Particularly from Marvel, we certainly have seen since COVID and streaming the amount of demands on our time and mental and physical health just explode. I mean, this is kind of what where we're freaking. We're seeing the budgets of some of these Marvel shows, and I was freaking out about that. Like, that's a problem. And people are like, well, I can't believe they're spending like I can, because they're doing the same, actually more than what they're doing in the movies. And that's what they're saying here is they're doing, in some cases 10 times the fucking work. And that's not the way these shows should be. You should have these TV shows. This is why it made sense when Netflix ran with the street level Marvel characters. Why? Because those shows are cheap.
Yep.
And they can be great. You don't have to spend money to be great.
Why did CW have so many shows?
Farscape wasn't the cheapest show, but they had to run on a budget, and that's one of my favorites personally.
I still love the first season of Stranger Things, and yes, I still even then thought the CG looked like crap for the Demogorgon, but I understood they were working with the best that they could, and I still love the story on the first season of Stranger Things.
Well, and I was watching a couple weeks back here. It was on the TV, the Incredible Hulk, the Marvel one. The new one.
Yeah.
And this movie already came out in 2008.
I remember it was June 2008.
Yeah,
I was gonna say. So here we are already close to 22-3 years out from it, give or take. No, 15, 10.
About 15.
Yeah, 15. Sorry, my math was off there. So yeah, in 15 years, we've gone from a point where you get Hulk almost as much as that movie. And what I loved about that movie is that it made me feel like I'm getting both the comic and the television Hulk smushed together. You know what I mean? Which I loved. And you're
talking about the Norton one, right?
Yes. And what we got out of that was you didn't get to see the Hulk until the first 30 some minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
And then you only get the Hulk sparingly throughout. So I'm sitting here watching this. I'm going, oh my God, I'm thinking about, they only had, like, here I am midway through the movie and we've only seen the Hulk. This will be like the second or third time now. And the first time you don't really even see him, right? They do the whole dark in the scene. So you barely see him at all. It's more like just kind of shadows and all that kind of shit. So I'm like, they managed to do all this then. And I think the budget for that first movie was in the, $60-70 million range. Even back then, that was pretty high budgeted. But those effects look pretty fucking good for 2008. And I'm like comparing that to shit with She-Hulk.
Oh, dude, the final fight on Harlem between Hulk and Abomination.
Fuck yes, you can tell that's really dropped the dime. You know,
I had a ball watching that fight in the theater. Me and my buddies were going nuts seeing that stuff in the theater opening night. Right? Hell yeah, man!
Yeah, it was cool.
But the whole point is we really only get, at the end of the day, if you think about it, 20, 30 maybe minutes of the Hulk tops in that whole movie.
But that's fine. Less is more.
It's kind of like the same as the old Hulk TV series. We knew as kids or as semi-adults, depending on how old you are on this panel, watching that show, or teenagers or whatever at the time, we knew that we're only going to get the Hulk twice in this fucking episode. If we got him more than twice, that was a bonus. Because Lou Ferrigno had to dress up in that green shit. And it was not cheap. And it was tough for him to do. So, you knew twice an episode he was going to Hulk out. You didn't know exactly when. You knew once in the first half hour, once in the second half hour. It's going to happen.
Very formula. He was a social worker going around the country.
Yes, he's one of the worst doctors in the world, but he's a great social worker.
Great social worker. Yeah, he was something. He could help people.
Social worker, cook, mechanic. I think he was even a pilot at one point.
You could only that show could only work back then. With the limits to technology back then, that's the only way a show like that works, where you can walk around and just get hired to do a job with you don't need any credentials or any crap like that. You get in a place to live. You can just, you don't have to, cell phones to worry about, or a lot of, you can make up a name and no one checks it, any of that kind of stuff.
Steal people's clothes off the clothesline.
Yeah, straight off, man. No, Hulk in the 70s had more jobs than Homer Simpson did in the first 10 seasons.
He did.
David Banyan, David Baker, David Barnes,
David
all the DB.
Every David name in the book is like
with a B. Last name B, of course.
Yeah, Banger, Born.
Bixby was brilliant, though.
Yeah, oh God, yes.
I mean, very formulaic, but he was brilliant.
I loved about Norton was, to me, he almost kind of had, they weren't the same individual, like their demeanor, but Norton almost kind of had the same kind of look as him, and the same kind of gangly look as him. And I like that.
Edward Norton did say, because I remember the buildup and promo for the movie, he did say his influences going into that movie, that he would watch the Bill Bixby show, and then he had a bunch of 70s comics he was looking at of the Hulk. So he looked at the comics and that show. So and I believe it, because he said
the first Hulk out is a clear. Yeah, well, the first Hulk out is a clear throwback to the original. Yes. Right? You even have the "Don't make you wouldn't like me when I'm hungry" line, which is like ha ha ha. And then when they throw him on the floor and he opens his eyes and all you see is the the light on his eye, and it's the green eye. You're like, oh fuck, that's Bigsby.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was cool. So anyway, my whole point with all that was, though, is they managed to make that movie. We've been sitting here talking about that movie for 10 fucking minutes now, and we almost been talking about that movie as long as we get the Hulk in the movie now.
Yep.
And that movie is endlessly entertaining, and we still talk about it here 15 plus years later. Yet now we get these movies where this guy's right. Every single minute, every single moment, every single shot in some of these cases is just bombarded with CGI nonsense, but it means fucking nothing at the end of the day. And it really sucks that these guys are getting treated this way, because to me, the art is being lost. And that's what this individual at the bottom was saying, on Gabrielle Levisk, where she's saying they're not even thinking about the movies themselves. They've just become McDonaldizations all across the board. It's not just the special effects, it's everything.
And that's why, once again, I feel like the disconnect between the bigwigs and people who work on these movies is even greater, because the bigwigs just think, well, anyone's replaceable, which there is a good argument, more or less, of that being true. But they think, oh, well, just keep turning on product, people eat it up. Whereas some people in the industry, some do realize that you got to actually put love and care in order for people to accept it. Whereas a lot of the bigwigs think people are just a bunch of peasants and they eat up whatever we're fed. So once again, it just this is why there's way too much of this corporatization and all this. It's as we were saying, I think Tuesday night, it's way too monolithic. It's bloated. There needs there needs to be people who are at the top that are people who actually have proper skin in the game in terms of working on the movie as well, not just guys who could sit on their chair.
And quality control's gone out the window because you don't even have to really be into this shit. I agree with what Jarrett's saying here. Quality control is number one. It doesn't matter if you're a fan of it or not. You still can have a nose for quality control and shit going out the door, whether it's garbage or not. Now, CC, it sounded like you were going to say something there. Go ahead.
Well, I had a couple thoughts run through my head because I work in music and karaoke. So
yeah, I figured you might have a few things to add to this. Yeah.
They got 11 million subscribers. Why are they funneling their tracks through some cheap MIDI program that an 8-year-old could buy at the store? But people lap it up. This is what the market bears. What it bears, right? I mean, I'm taking a dig at Sing King right now, but people use it. People love it. They run it through a MIDI program you could buy at a store for a few $100, and they put no effort into backing vocals. They got 11 million subscribers. They should be able to do better than that. They should be able to hire real live musicians, but they don't. I put 30 hours of work into my Stairway to Heaven instrumental. Someone else could have put 10 minutes of work into it, and there's always a conflict there about whether quality matters, and I stand by that quality does matter. You put it forth, and it matters, but the market bears what it bears. People do go to McDonald's. They go to McDonald's a lot, and they buy those burgers and they eat those burgers. So yeah, it's tricky. I may disagree.
You're not wrong, but at the same time, should I guess that's not where I thought you were going to go with that thought, which is my own fault.
Well, no, I didn't think I was going to go that way either, but
no, I mean, I thought maybe you would head the direction with music, becoming more kind of similar to movies in a sense where they've relied too much on digital now.
It is, right? I mean, it's
and you can do great things if you've got a real artist to work with, but if you've got somebody who's literally like just some fucking YouTube star that you got to slam a bunch of freaking auto tune on them, and their music clearly sounds like something that was made in a music making program.
It's definitely a symptom of the year and time we're living in, as we go from an analog age to a digital age. A band like Imagine Dragons boasts about hosting discussion groups with fans about, what do we like? What do you like about our sound? What should we do more of? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But then when you have 30 people writing your song for you, it's not Queen anymore.
Or the same 3 people writing everybody's song. That's the other side of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you had that especially in the late 90s, early aughts. Yeah, sorry.
Just recycling concepts and ideas. Like, here's a well of 10, the four chords to make a million. One of my favorite artists, Stephen Wilson, wrote a song about that. Yep. Because it's true. There's 1,000 different notes you could play, but there's 4 chords that you play to get onto the top of the hits chart, right? There's a formula to it.
Well, it's the same thing in Casino. Your slot machines.
Love that movie.
You ever walk into a casino?
Not the movie so much, but like the
I know. I just had to throw that in.
The cheapening of casinos is real too. Like people, a lot of casinos, they don't put effort into the flash and dash and in the excitement of like going into a place.
Well, it's because they know the formula now, right? Like they know that all they have to do is have that machine play those same 3 notes over and over again. And
it's not even analog anymore. You don't even pull the lever.
No.
You walk into a casino, and some of these casinos are like thousands of square feet of digital slot machines, and there's a bunch of people just sitting there staring at them, pressing the button over and over again, pissing away their life savings. And I'm like,
they did the research.
I've walked into these places.
They found out that doodle notes, those 3 notes over and over and over and over and over again, they're like soothing or something to the human brain. And so what it does is it creates that what's the word I'm looking for? The rush you get, the endorphin rush or whatever.
Yeah.
Especially like, when you win, even when you're losing, that's the whole thing. It's like they are, in a way, there's all kinds of things, and that's why I use a casino as a great example, because they are doing it all throughout that entire place of manipulating you from the moment you walk in to the moment you spend your last fucking dime you're being manipulated first by not showing
gacha video games. They're free to play. They get you in there and they say, hey, here's this thing you really want. And you spend lots of money and it's like playing the lottery. It's a slot machine. And you just keep hitting it and keep hitting it, hoping maybe this time you get it. I'm not saying that anybody should gamble, but if you ever walk into a cheap casino and then just don't spend your money and look around, it's a little bit unsettling what you see.
No, and it is, but I mean, we got a little off track there. But the other side of it was, I thought you might bring up, is the video game side of it. And we're in this. I never thought we lived in this day and age where they release so many video games that aren't even finished. And you got to wait for the patch. It's like, how long until we've even gotten this point with some movies? Because there was a lot of people who threw a lot of shade at me about the whole, they could never had changed the whole Splinter thing in that amount of time. It's like, you're fucking kidding me? They changed Spider-Verse within like a matter of 2 showings. People were noticing that there was 2 different versions of the movie because they had fixed a fuck up in one of them. And it was starting to get loaded up into the other theaters. Yeah.
In the age of physical media, you put out the cartridge, you put out the disc. There was no internet connection on your system. You didn't have to download anything to be able to play it after you bought it. You bought it, and it was complete. You put it in, you could be completely disconnected from anything, and it works, right? Then you enter the internet era where it's like, well, you need an internet connection because you bought the physical thing, but now you got to download 100 gigabytes more data in order for the physical media to even work. And because we can update it, we'll just release it unfinished and we'll keep patching it later. And
then you spend more money for those things. That's the worst part. But one thing, if they were like free things that got attached because hey, we're sorry we made this mistake. Here's this little add-on because we didn't get on time, but here, this is on us because you bought the game, you supported it, and so they know here you need to fork out more money for their mistakes. And I'm sure not all of it is, once again, there's definitely seems to be a reoccurring thing, is all on the people who make the games. It's probably more unrealistic deadlines, more people being overworked overnight, probably losing time with families, sleep in general. I'm sure it's happening in video games too. I mean, this sounds all familiar what we're hearing with video games. And
yeah.
Oh man. And once again, more and more disconnect is like, I think it's great when you see people out there trying to make their own games and trying to at least give it a shot because they realize going into this industry to me makes no sense to join this, because you're joining a setup system where they want things done on their own watch. Why join with these set of people when you can try to build something and hopefully try to stick with a loyal following off of that?
It goes to another point that's similar to film. We talk about old, like when we had indie films that were cheap to make, you could make a great movie for a few $1 million. And back in the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis era, it didn't cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make a video game either, right? So it was possible for a lot of independence to create. Now you still have some of that today. Steam, obviously, helps a great deal because independents can still create very, very popular games. But when you push these gigantic AAA budgets for things that take years and years and years, and that can produce amazing quality products sometimes.
Maybe the big projects DC should be like a fewer things. That way, when it happens, it feels like a big event and it matters.
Exactly.
It's got everyone's attention where they're making every single thing an event, because it really makes everything, nothing feels like an event now because everything is big, everything is massive, everything is the be all end all. There's no personal stories. And this is in gaming and in movies. Everything is about bigger is better. And at times that's true, but now we're seeing what happens when that's not better.
Yeah. Here's the quote I was talking about before. Patch says about WandaVision. For us, I was on WandaVision and they told us, well, you're not going to have any more days off in the next 3 months until we deliver episode 10.
Wow.
We were already working 18-hour days, he says. I was like, how is this supposed to be sustainable?
And that's the thing. The people on top don't care. They just think, well, it's going to be Matt because we said so. They don't see it as these people are overworked. They don't see it like that because they aren't affected the same way they are, because they never think that they're going to be in a position where they're going to be affected that same way. So they feel like they're exempt from this, and if they don't comply, we'll just find someone else who will work those 18 hours.
Well, it looks like, here's the thing too, is they're also taking advantage of them because they pay them on a 12-hour salary, it looks like.
Oh, wow, that's bad.
So whether they work 18 hours or 12 hours, they get paid a flat rate.
That's not cool.
Yeah, so this is and it goes on, and then of course then it gets into AI and burnout and everything else. And again, I'm not trying to minimize it or overlook a lot of this stuff, but it just goes on and on and on. And again, I'm already on these guys' side, right?
Yeah, they definitely seem to have a lot of really good, reasonable arguments.
Yeah, especially considering how much these studios are relying on them right now. And that's kind of the points I was getting to, is this reliance on it so much is like, take some of the burden off their shoulders. First of all, quit being so fucking lazy. You know, how hard is it to just do some of this shit? I don't get it. I mean, when YouTubers can do it in their own back fucking yard for nothing.
You have to be passionate about what you do too, though, right? If you're doing it as a job and then you're going home to do what you're actually passionate about, you will be lazy about the job. If it's something that actually, like, you live for it, you wake up and you breathe for it, then you will put your all into it.
I strongly agree, CC. That's the thing. There are people out there. You got to find them. You got to network. You got to say, hey, who out there really wants to do this? I'm not saying let's just talk about do it. Let's actually go out there and do it. I want to see who out there has a great short movie that they're working on. I'm hoping when Drinker has a short movie, I hope our people get inspired. Like, hey, I got this idea, a great 10-minute idea, whether it's a comedy, a drama, action, whatever. I want to see what people have, and I believe there's still tons of great original writers and ideas. We just haven't heard them because Hollywood, for all the gatekeeping they accuse us of doing, they're being the gatekeepers of people who have great original ideas. For all we know, we might have a horror icon we don't even know of because they're being pushed to the back. We might have another Spider-Man. We might have another great mobster story yet to be told from maybe some unique set of perspective. We don't have that because we're not have that put in front of us. Instead, what they're putting in front of us is McDonald's. Like, no, we're not going to put Portillo's in front of you. We're going to put McDonald's. No, I know we have that. It's just what they don't want to give us Portillo's. They want to give us McDonald's instead each and every time and expect us to eat it up.
As an experiment, if you ever want to just try and dig through the algorithm, find the stuff that YouTube doesn't recommend you.
Or
any site. There is so much out there that has 10 or 20 views in a lifetime that it doesn't matter how good it is.
No, CC, you're right. Sometimes you gotta look at the stuff that they're not saying to recommend, and it's not like because there's this whole thing when a magazine or big entity is always recommending something. Well, it has to be good. That's not always the case. There's tons of great things that always gets overlooked. I've seen it happen with restaurants. I've seen it happen especially with music. And I'm seeing it happen definitely a lot more commonplace in movies and games. You just gotta take a chance and don't be afraid to form an opinion for yourself and say, you know what, hey, I caught this on my own merits. I'm in love with this. I want to talk about it.
And that is one of the real benefits of like the modern era, is that it's I mean, okay, not everybody can afford $100 million, for a big blockbuster AAA event, but a tremendous number of people can afford, if they have the skill for it, to produce a very high level quality product that they could never have necessarily done 30 years ago, because modern technology is now opened it up for them to be able to do so on a reasonable budget. And that just means that there's more and more high level quality content out there. It's buried. And we're not it's not making it to the theaters because there's only so many screens, and the screens are being completely taken up by the big corporations. But the talent that is out there is more able to produce at a high level with modern technology, and it's just there. It's all over the place.
There you go.
Hi, Tom.
Right.
Hi, Clubby. Leslie and Cece are just going off about the potential of greatness that is out there. No, I truly do believe there's so much greatness out there. That's not even, I don't even feel like that's the eternal optimist in me speaking. I truly believe there's so much great talent we're just not knowing about. Maybe that's just because I've come from these other backgrounds, whether it's comics or movies or food or music, where I see when you look past what's on the surface, you'll see a whole treasure of riches if you just are willing to take that leap. I know that first step is tough for a lot of people because with that first step, there's a lot of uncertainty, but I think it's worth taking that chance. I think I'd rather be in a place where there is uncertainty because you know what? Not everything's going to hit, but man, when the hits hit, it's going to be that much sweeter.
Indeed.
Yeah. And then I got to think, speaking of sweet, I want to thank Gonzalo Bergali, I think it was here. Yes.
Woo!
Who gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. Speaking of memberships, Rex Kramer is now a member. I didn't catch which level, so we'll just give you a lazy puppy because he's so adorable. There you go. Got a lazy puppy riding the iRobot.
I like that dog.
Everybody
look at that nubby tail.
Aww,
Such a nub.
so cute.
Yeah, I want a puppy dog.
And then Pinochet's Helicopter Tours has been a member for 23 months. Thank you. He also says, I love communism. VFX workers of the world unite.
What's up, man?
Then he says, VFX right now just might be popping themselves in the foot. Give good directors an excuse to go practical, and the revival may just shut out the bads. You got a point. I'm not saying you're wrong there. We Shenanigans says, hi all. Too bad Andre isn't here. I just heard that Last Voyage of Demeter is from the director of Troll Hunter. Yep. That movie was so Norwegian. I am intrigued. Yeah, I told him earlier, I'm like, shit, that movie come out today, and I didn't get a chance to go see it, and I don't know if it's out there yet or not, but I'm sure if he has a chance to go see it, he will. Because we had talked about wanting to see that one. So yeah. Is there anything else going on, guys, that you wanted to chit chat about?
Well, I know that trailer came out yesterday on the Continental, that show that takes place way before the first John Wick movie that Mel Gibson is in. I mean, normally I don't really get all hyped for a prequel series, but I do like me some Mel Gibson, and I would hope that since he obviously got back into the industry, which I do got credit Mr. Downey for fighting for him on that. Hopefully he delivers something good out of that because I don't see Mel Gibson wanting to slack on anything.
No, I watched the trailer. I like it.
Yeah, it looked good. Do we know if it's gonna be like a 10-episode thing, a 6? What's
the trailer said it was three parts. So it makes me think that it's actually just a feature-length movie split into 3 episodes.
Which venue?
Peacock.
Oh man.
That's actually, I like the sign. I wonder if it's gonna be like, 3 episodes or like an hour long or hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly. A 3-hour movie. They're just putting it on TV.
And the idea of breaking up in the chapters, that would be really good. Actually, see, now this is one of those rare times where I'm actually really interested in what a prequel has to offer.
I got a little bit of Quentin Tarantino vibe there. Maybe it's just the 70s thing, and but I got a little bit of that. I think there's a ton of potential for them to have fun with that. Especially one thing I think about sometimes is like, it's too much of an easy excuse when you set a movie in, say, 2023, and people can just text each other or call each other on cell phones, internet. The 1970s is all analog, right? So you have to talk to people. You have to find solutions as a writer. It could be a lot of fun.
That's why I love seeing those memes, or once in a while you'll see like, I don't know, like comic things. I don't remember. I've never seen really any videos yet. It'd be funny. I'm sure there are YouTube videos out there of it, but like basically movies that would be over in no time if cell phones existed.
Oh yeah, right. No, it is funny to that. And there is, Cece, you're so right. It's amazing when you think of it like that, that when you put movies in those things, it makes you can definitely build a better story off that because everything gets so solved nowadays with technology.
Oh, it's an easy out.
Well, it's not so much even an easy out as like, to me, I wish Script was here, because to me, I would think it would be more difficult as a writer, because this is something when I was writing, I was helping this one guy write a script he was working on. He kind of kept hitting a few brick walls, so I gave him some suggestions, and it's just like one of the things he had in his story that I even found disbelievable until he actually showed me a story where it actually had happened was like just how he took the cell phones out of the story. I'm just like,
yeah,
and it's like you got to kind of think of that sometimes of how do you get these things out, because otherwise it makes sometimes telling a compelling story difficult if everybody can just grab a cell phone, and that's the way the world is right now.
Well,
right? Like,
old can't happen in modern day. Like Commando, for example, being one of many.
Mm-hmm. And that's why every horror movie for the last 10, 15 years, time they have to send them out into some middle of nowhere, and they go within the first 10 minutes of the movie, you always have a scene where they're going, oh, I don't have any fucking cell phone fucking, like they do that in every one of these movies now because they have no other way. Otherwise, it's like somebody just call 911 and get the fuck out of there.
Cell tower service is so good now. You still go through some bad patches, but eventually when that's gone,
we're getting there. That's the thing.
Yeah, Elon Musk and Starlink, man.
Red K Hell nailed
the parks.
Red K Hell wrote, just Google it isn't a very appealing obstacle for plot. No, that's true. Like, it's when you put everything is at the tip of your fingers as far as the answers. Yeah, you do lose a lot of the story in that regard. Now, obviously,
I wonder how long like Die Hard with a Vengeance would be if they could have just Googled
everything. Googled everything. And,
20-minute movie and it's over.
Yeah.
Chester A. Arthur, that's right. Yeah.
They did address it in the movie because remember he made them shut down the city.
They even used cell phones and shit in that movie. That's the thing.
Cell phones. He had to mess up all the lines by creating panic throughout the city through the radio show. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but no, it's just interesting how that works. But speaking of drama, Valentine's 2 wants to know if I'm so sorry, man. I have not had a chance to. I thought it was an audio thing already, man. That's why I didn't even have a chance to listen to it. I thought I was I'll get a chance to listen to it when I get some editing time. But if it's reading it, that's going to be even tougher for me to get to. But I will do my best here, Valentine's Tube. You've sent me a few super chats about it now, and I feel really bad. But like my days have been just wall to wall shit. Like today, for instance, I barely got up, and then it was, Mr. H's stream, then pros, then this one, and then. Like yesterday, I had doctor's appointment before the morning show, and I was late to the morning show. And and then next week I got surgery I'm getting ready for and all this stuff for my toes. It's just all this shit's going on at once. So I really apologize. I'm not trying to push it off or anything. It's just really to even get to sit down and time to do anything is really difficult sometimes. So I do apologize, but I appreciate it. And hopefully I will get to it soon. But what we do need is more likes because Sadie is not getting a treat yet. She's very upset with you guys. We only need a few more.
Thumbs up this stream. We are 36 thumbs up away from 400. Maybe, man, this could be me doing a bribe on Tom. Maybe Tom will give Sadie 2 treats if we could get 500 likes. 2 treats for 500 likes. Maybe I'm being ambitious. We're shooting up. There you go, chat. Keep that going. I just saw it. Oh, there we go. Now we're talking. See,
I think I can do the 500 two treats.
One treat is looking like it's going to happen. We're at 384. Let's keep that number.
Sadie's
because it's possible.
Oh yeah. There. See, now you guys are coming alive.
That's right. Huge treat.
Huge.
We got Goddess of Women in the house. How you doing, Goddess? It says, I'm reading this manga called Spy Family. It's fun because the old school Cold War spy dramedy. See, that's the thing is, the Cold War was another interesting time. I wonder if there's been an uptick. I don't know. I haven't really paid much attention, but like an uptick in maybe period pieces for this very reason too, because it's so difficult to write.
All right, Tom, you got 400. Let's get Sadie a treat.
There we go.
Keep going, guys.
100 more gets Sadie a second treat.
You could be like a carnival barker.
You're out there. Hit that like.
Yeah. Got 3 balls for $5, or if you give me 10, you can get 6 balls. No, I don't know. Or whatever it is. 5, 10 balls. I don't know. Fuck, I can't even do it. See, you could have probably done it better. I can't sell that shit.
Take care of the doggy, babies. Come on.
Yes, we will. We got 405. We're 95 away from 2 treats. We got at least 1 treat.
Huge.
But I don't know if we got enough time to keep going here. What else we got to talk about, guys? I ran out of stories.
Who needs stories?
There's no big story, but I did see Sean Stackhouse's comment in the chat, which I will happily acknowledge, even though he wrote out to you. I have the answer to this. He said, he tagged your name, said, have you heard about the Dean Cain American Lawman comic that'll be coming out soon? So sweet anti. Now, here's the thing. It's not anti-woke. It's just not anti-anything. It's just a comic. And I say that as someone who's read Gabriel L. Taib's comic that just shipped called Truth, Justice, American Way. And, it's just a fun story. Now, this story, Gabe, he wrote and drew. Akeon did the colors. Now with Dean Cain, he's co-writing with Dean Cain. He said it's supposed to be like a 80s action story, like a Van Damme, Chuck Norris, James Bond, just super fun, fast cars, guy gets the girl type of story. And Gabe killed it with this comic here, Truth, Justice, American Way. This is from his imprint, Big Man Comics, and this is the cover variant of Truth. That'd be the lady over here. Yeah, this is not just great art. It was actually a great story. This is what I like about it. This is actually one of the best books that I have backed ever. I love the story, and I'll be doing a review on it from my channel, so keep your eyes and ears open for that. But highly recommend, and yes, go back Dean Cain, because if this book is any indication, I am definitely curious to see what else Gabe has got, because there's a lot of fun and there's a lot of action and there's a lot of great stuff that makes you think, like not the what to think, but how to think type of stuff. So it's got great positive messaging as well, and lots of heroism, lots of it. So yeah, go give it a shot, folks. But remember, it's on bigmancomics.com for Dean Cain, All American Lawman.
Nice. Cool.
That's it. I got nothing else. Unless you want to keep me here, which I got nothing else to add.
You're sexy in that Rip-A-Verse t-shirt there. Sexy Nick.
I like turtles.
I mean, I do got a license to meme.
You do have that.
Hey, Jason.
Speaking of that, the show will lead us over to Comics Division's Thursday night show. So head on over there afterwards. We didn't get enough to get Sadie 2 treats here, but I will have to go grab her 1 at least. So let's start with you, Clobbering Times. Anything you got coming up tonight or up soon?
That just under an hour, buddy. Thank you for that. Thanks for having me. By the way, the clubhouse will be in session as always with my great friends, my wonderful first officer Raquel Briggs, and of course the great chief engineer Mark D with the C. We'll do our usual reviewing a Tales of Tomorrow episode or Jerry Anderson's UFO episode and a Star Trek comic and all kinds of other stuff hanging out. And it is Jack Kirby month, so I'll be talking about some of Jack as well. And then should be hanging out with Nicholas and the gang tomorrow at the comic shop on Nick's channel. And then Saturday night Star Trek, reviewing the end of season 1. At the end of season 1 of Star Trek Voyager, reviewing all of Trek. So thanks for having me, Tom. I really appreciate it, buddy. Oops, I dropped something. Oops.
Hey.
I dropped my glasses.
There you go. She got her treat. Yep.
All right.
I did give her a treat. All right. And CC, what you got coming up?
Tomorrow night, with yourself, Mr. Tom Connors. Karaoke, 10 p.m. Pacific time. We're just gonna hang out. We're gonna sing some karaoke songs. We're gonna have fun. That's pretty much it. Sing songs and have fun.
It's already Friday, isn't it? Tomorrow.
Somewhere it is.
Yeah.
Time never slows down.
Fast.
It just catches up.
Went very fast. Nick, you'll be going over to Comics Division. I'll probably hop in over there. That starts in how long here? Like an hour?
Yeah, like 55 minutes. Thursday night throwdown. That will be coming up. Of course, we'll be hanging out there tonight. We got a bunch of interesting topics there. I'll have a video out a Friday or Saturday as well. And that video is waiting on the holdover. Of course, there's the comic shop talk, and then on Friday nights, and then Toxic Tuesday, we're talking in Van Damme's Lionheart next week. And if you somehow haven't watched it, because I'm wearing the shirt, I did a review for ISOM number 2 that was watched and commented by Eric July and was put in his newest video. Just saying. Watch it. It's quite huge.
Nice. All right. Well, check out Nick's channel. Check out Clobby's channel. Check out CC's channel. And thank you to Pro for sending a crowd over here. And thank you guys for hitting the like button. Thank you to the mods for all your work today. We appreciate that help here at the channel. And with that, I will bid you all adieu. I don't know what that is, but it's a doo-doo.
I don't believe you.
That's right.
How dare you!